Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, boys and girls. So today's lesson is about Etherchannel. It's a packet tracer lab that we will be doing, and this is what we have. We have a total of two PCs in VLAN 10 and two PCs in VLAN 20. We have two layer 2 switches and one layer 3 switch as well. So let's start working on this. What is the idea? I'm going to duplicate these sessions and I'm going to move these to Cisco Packet Tracer. So I will be working on that right now. Give me just a second, please, so I can have a better view of these events. Okay, nice. Nice. Okay, I just opened the Packet Tracer and we need the following. We need a 3560 over here. I have, yes, a 3560 is a multi-layer switch, and then we need 2960s over here. And we will be adding additionally two PCs at this side and some more PCs. Now, do you guys remember the first thing we do? Label the devices. So this one will be, let me just go here. It is actually DSW1. DSW1. Let me just save that. Now we have SW2. Let me just work on that. SW2 over here. And let me just save it here for now. SW1. Let me just save it. Okay, great. Now we have PC1 over here. Let me just do some changes here. So we will be having PC1 and then PC3. Then we will have here, we will have PC2 and PC4. Now I added 33 because we're gonna have duplicated PCs. What else are we missing, guys? Okay, we have the starting of the topology. Let me copy this network addressing scheme. Give me just a moment. So I can copy this one over here. Great. What else? What else are we missing, boys and girls? Let me just clear this one a little bit. Okay, the cables. Remember, it's important to have the cables. So we have Fast Ethernet 01. We have then Fast Ethernet 03. Then we have over here Fast Ethernet 02. And then again, once again, we have Fast Ethernet 04. Okay, later on, we have uh, is actually a copper straight to cable. And there you go with 11. Fast Ethernet 11 over here, and then Fast Ethernet 12. Almost there. Once again, Fast Ethernet 11, one more time, and Fast Ethernet 12. We are building our topology, it's pretty much done, but are we missing something, guys? Let's fill out with color. Let's start with this one, and this will be for VLAN 10. So let me just work on that. Okay, Control C here. Let me just erase that one. Yes, I want to delete it. Let's go with this one. Perfect. What is the other one? It's like green color. I'm going to add the VLANs information in a moment here. So let me just work on that right now. So VLAN 20 is actually this one. And let me just look for the other color that we have there. Let me just add that one. And we have VLAN 10. Okay, let me just organize it. I want to organize this so we don't forget. VLAN 20 and okay, there is a problem here. Let me just erase this for a moment. Let me just look for that color one more time. I almost have it. Okay. I need to draw that one. Great. So, time to organize this. VLAN, this VLAN 20 here. Okay, and VLAN 10 over there. Nice. Once again, let's add the name of the VLANs just to cover our backs. So let me just add here VLAN 10. Then where did it go? Then VLAN 20. VLAN 20. Nice, nice. So now what is the idea? To duplicate this. VLAN 10 over here. Okay, please remember to be careful with the colors. And VLAN 20 over here. There you go. Now we're pretty much done. Let me just save this topology. Do you guys remember the name for this lesson? It is Ethernet. It's actually Etherchannel VLAN Lab. There you go. Now, let me just stop sharing the video for a moment so we can focus in this lab. Do you guys remember what is the easiest step that we have been doing so far along this course and bootcamp? The PCs. We need to configure the PC's connectivity. So let's work on that. PC1, okay, and we will have 10.10.10.2, 255.255.255.0, 10.10.10.1, and there you go. We have PC1, right? Yeah, PC1. Now, there's a document called Etherchannel config bundle. That's where I am getting all this information. So I can configure these PCs. I'm configuring a PC2 at this moment with a mask /24. And I need to validate the default gateway is the same one for PC1 and PC3. Oh, this one I got it incorrectly because PC3 has a different IP address. PCT3 will be actually 10.20.20.2. That will be PC3 with the default 10.20.20.1. Okay, I almost messed up there for a moment, but we are fine. Now let's go to PC2, and then we can have that 10.10.10.3, 255.255.255.0, and then the default gateway is 1. There you go. We are only missing one piece of the puzzle, and that will be PC4, right? Let me just share with you. We are working about that one, PC4. So let me work on that. 10.20.20.3, and this 255.255.255.0 is the subnet mask. Then we have the default gateway, which is 10.20.20.1. There you go. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Okay, let's go now with the most difficult part per se, but it's only to add that configuration for the devices. So first thing I do, I copy the whole configuration that is in the Etherchannel channel config bundle. I will share that with you so you will have it available. I just copy that and I go to the layer 3 switch. CLI enable config T and I just paste it there. I just wait for a couple of seconds and with WR I save the configuration. Let's go with the switch 1 so I can save it there and update the configuration for switch 1. That is config T. Mm, wait, yeah, let's do that. Let's just copy and paste the configuration on switch 1. Let's just save it with WR carefully. Now we go to switch 2 and we can update the configuration on switch 2. This is just to have the configuration on all devices. Config T, then paste it, wait for a moment, WR, and now we have the configuration on the 3 switches. Let's go from simulation to real time. So the Packet Tracer Lab synchronizes. And right now, what we will do is the following. We will do a step-by-step guide on the instructions that we need to follow for this event. So this is called Cisco Packet Tracer Etherchannel Lab Guide. You will have access to this one. So this is the first thing we do is validate the configuration. We have already done pretty much all the configuration, but what are we configuring? That is the big question. Okay, so let me just share with you the file so you are aware of which information we are actually configuring. So this is what we have. In DS1, DSW1 is the L3 multi-layer switch. We are configuring LACP and PAGP. In the layer 2 switches, we're configuring the same on port channels. And then we have the static IP addresses for those PCs. That's basically what we are working on. Now, let me just clear the screen for a moment. If we go to the layer 3 switch, the multi-layer, first thing we did when we just copy and paste all that configuration is the following. Let me just highlight with a different color. Green will work fine. So we added the config terminal, we added the host name, no IP domain lookup, and that's it. Then we added the VLANs, VLAN 10, name user 10, VLAN 20, name user 20. And then we added this IP routing command, which is very important for routing purposes. Then after that, we add the interface VLAN with an IP address for VLAN 10 and then for VLAN 20. This will allow us to have connectivity, inter-VLAN connectivity with this capability of IP routing. Finally, we have the trunk allowing those two VLANs, VLAN 20 and VLAN 10. Channel 1, channel dash group 1 mode passive. That will be the range that we are configuring for facilitator 0/1 through number 2. Then we have the port channel 1, switchboard mode trunk, allowing these VLANs 10 and 20. This is the first part. Then we have the interface range for fast Ethernet 0/3/4. We are covering those two interfaces. Switchboard mode trunk, switchboard trunk allow VLAN 1020. And now channel group 2 mode auto. So we are configuring those. The first one in passive, the second one in auto. That was in the theory when we were looking at the Ether channel chapter. We understood that one side should be passive and the other one auto, so we can have that connectivity successfully created. The port channel 2, we added the trunk, then we added the allow VLANs, switchboard trunk allow VLAN 1020 after the switchboard mode trunk was added. So that's pretty much the configuration that we have been doing in switch 3, which is If you guys remember, this is the multi-layer switch that we need to configure. So let me just clear those. We are pretty much done with this configuration. The last thing we did was to configure, and let me just stop sharing the video so we can concentrate. A spanning tree VLAN 10 and 20 root primary. That was the last thing we did. Now, moving on. What happened at the layer 2 switches? We have the host name configured here, the VLAN information, VLAN 10 and 20, switch for mode access for FA0/11 for VLAN 10, switch for mode access for VLAN 20 for FA0/12. Interface range FA0/1-2, switchport mode trunk, switchport trunk allow VLAN 1020, channel 1 mode active, and no shutdown. This is the connectivity that we have between um, the the layer 1 and the device. Now I'm seeing something looks a little bit odd here because the interfaces doesn't really match. Apparently, we needed to have FH01 and FH02, so maybe there is a mistake in the connectivity here that we might need to correct. Let me just work on that. We should have FH01 and FH02, right? That's what we are configuring here. Now, it means that let's go to the configuration of the switch, the other one, which is actually, let me go there. Let me erase this information. Is switch 2. Switch 2 is missing. It's the same, 3 and 4. So it's actually what we need to fix here. We need to add the crossover cable for 3, FA0/3 and FA0/4. They will not be working at this moment because we still need to configure the switch 2. So actually we already configured switch 2, but we're validating the configuration for that switch. So let's see what we configured there. Okay, first we added the host name and the no IP domain lookup, the VLAN information, and switchboard mode access. That was for the VLAN 10 for that specific PC, and then the switchboard mode access for FA0/12. It was for VLAN 20 for the other PC device. Then we have bus Ethernet 0/3-4, switchboard mode trunk, switchboard trunk allow VLAN 1020, channel group 2, mode desirable. So we have the layer 2 switches with desirable mode. And what did we configure on channel 2 in the layer 3 switch, in the multi-layer? Let's take a look. The multi-layer for channel group 2, we configure auto. So we have auto and desirable. One end has auto and the other one end has desirable. Let's see what happened with the other one. We have passive here. It's actually switchboard channel group 1 mode passive. What did we have in the other one? In the, for example, in this one, in switch 1. Let's take a look. It is active. Look at that. We have active on one side and passive on the other. Communication will work effectively, and that's pretty much what we need. Last thing, channel in the switch 2, in the layer 2 switch. Layer 2 referring to MAC addresses, and then all the information that we have for switches and MAC addresses information. Okay, so what do we have here? We have the last switch port interface port dash channel 2, switchport mode trunk, switchport trunk allow VLAN 1020. And that's it, we're done. We have pretty much covered the whole configuration of those 3 switches. Let me finish deleting these red lines so we can work along and finally move on with the next step. Assign static IP addresses for all the PCs. We have done that, so we should be all good. We have covered this step already. Validation commands on DSW1. So we are going to run these commands to validate if all the configurations that we have been doing so far are correct. So let's go to that layer 3 switch, that multi-layer, so we can run these commands. First thing we do is show Etherchannel summary. And we have the port channel. The first one for LACP and the other one for PHP. What else do we have? Okay, we are going to go ahead and clear some notes here for the meantime. And let's focus in this new validation and verification set of commands. We have this one down. Okay, let's go with this one. Let's go ahead and run those two guys to see if they successfully work in the multi-layer switch. So let's do show LACP neighbor. Neighbor. I want to see, maybe we are missing something. Are we missing something? I'm wondering if we need to run these commands in the layer 2 devices. Do you guys remember which one has LACP and which one not? So apparently this one has the LACP and this other one has the PAGP. PAGP. So what I want to do is the following. I want to check those commands in um, in this device, just to validate. Let me run that other command that we have been working on. Let me go there. Okay, this one is for the verification. So let me just copy and paste it there. Let me just copy and paste it. So if it doesn't work, it's because maybe Packet Tracer doesn't support it. Okay, looks like Packet Tracer doesn't support that one in any of the devices, but maybe, just maybe, we can do a show mm, Ether channel summary again. And we have the PHP here. Show Ether channel. We have the PHP. Let's do a show Ether channel here. And we have the LACP over here. And let's do again the show Ether channel here. There is an error that we will take a look later. Maybe we are missing something regarding the VLAN. We might have to validate this later on to see if we are configuring something incorrectly here. Mm, looks like there is a blocking message and I receive 121Q. Inconsistent port type. We might have to check on this to see if we are having an error here. Let me just work on that right now. Let me work on it. Are we having a problem here? If we configure something incorrectly? Maybe not. Let me just take a look. Check and take a look at this. Okay, we need to change this to English. Let us switch to English. So apparently we did something wrong, but I will check on that in a moment. Okay, so maybe the trunk is not active in both sides of the port channel. So let's go ahead and validate that. Let's go ahead and before we continue doing the validation commands, let's confirm that the trunk is configured correctly for those interfaces. So let me start with switch 3. Let me start with that one. Okay, where does the trunk information start from? Right here. So let's go with that. Let's go ahead and configure that just in case to cover our backs. Interface. After config T, we have interface range av0/1 to 2. Switchboard. Switchboard mode trunk. Mm, okay, maybe we need the encapsulation here. Are we missing the encapsulation? That's the big question. Mm, let me do something. Let me do interface port channel 2, switchboard mode trunk, mm, switchboard, switchboard mode trunk. It says auto for some reason. The interface trunk encapsulation is auto. Uh, it cannot be configured as trunk. Hmm. Switchboard trunk allow VLANs 10 and 20. Let me take a look to see what is going on with this error. Okay, so we need to do the encapsulation. We're missing the encapsulation here, apparently. So we have to do switchboard trunk encapsulation that one queue, and then we can do switchboard mode trunk. Okay, now let's go ahead and validate that we are doing that for the other interfaces. Let me do a show run here. Are we having that successfully configured in the other device? We have the trunk here. There's a trunk here. And this one is fine, the port channel 1. Hmm. Let me validate something. Let me do something here real quick. Yeah, because apparently we were doing everything correctly. It looks like we finally fixed the problem with the switchboard mode trunk that was missing, and the port consistency was restored. So that's pretty much what we needed to do. Mm, I think that was the problem. We fixed it. So that's pretty much what we have to do. Maybe there's a problem since Packet Tracer sometimes doesn't support some commands, but it looks like the problem was successfully resolved. So let's continue doing some validation commands. Let me do here, show spanning tree, VLAN 10. Looks like there is no spanning tree configured for that one, so we can ignore that for now. Let me just do a ping to 10.10.10.2. Okay, we are successfully reaching that one, and 20, 10.20.20.2. We have to be patient and wait a moment. Okay, nice. So pretty much the only problem that we encountered upon troubleshooting this lab was that for some reason, the trunk at one of the port channels was not being taken, and this was creating an inconsistency error or problem for port channel 2. How did we fix it? We access the port channel 2, interface port channel, port dash channel 2. We added the encapsulation that one queue, and then we added the switchboard mode trunk, and apparently the problem was resolved. Maybe there is a bug in Cisco Packet Tracer because we really didn't need the encapsulation that one queue since we are not doing interVLAN as a regular router. We have a multi-layer switch and we activated IP routing. So we should be all covered and set. But just in case, that was the way to fix the problem. Let me just save the configuration. Let me see if there's connectivity between PCs, and it looks like it is between PCs in the same VLANs. Let's see if we have connectivity between PCs in different VLANs, and looks like we have PCs in different VLANs and PCs in the same VLAN, they have connectivity. So we are pretty much done with the lab. Do you guys remember what was the command to validate the Ether channel? Show Etherchannel summary, right? We see that one in previously in the theory when we were reading in the chapter. You see the port channel 2 SU, if you guys remember, um, is basically that the port channel it is usable, it is active. The P, what does the P stand for? For port channel. Now I'm validated because the U means it is in use, and the S means is a layer 2. So that's what it stands for, SU. Is a layer 2 connectivity being in use. Now remember what happened with those physical interfaces. They become logical. So this one we have two physical interfaces that become logical in each of the sides of the switches. So that's pretty much everything. We have covered all the information in the lab. Um, that's everything. I think we don't have to go any further into this lab. We successfully configured the lab. We validated that the PCs in VLANs, the same VLANs, they were able to ping each other. And the PCs in different VLANs, like if we check this one and this one, they were able to ping each other as well. So we should be all set. So I want to thank you for taking the time for doing this lab. I want to let you know that you're doing an amazing job. Congratulations for your effort. Please continue practice because practice makes perfect. I see you until next class, boys and girls. Take care.